Hi, everyone. Progress update time for my novel series, fantasy novel series, The Crown and the Caged God. This is book one, part one. Book one, part two is nearly here. I'll give the release date soon. I'll talk about that. I'll reveal the cover art. We'll do all of that soon. Today, I just want to do a progress update, both for book one, part two, and for the series as a whole. Let's start with book one, part two. Done. Right, so this is, if you've been watching these before, these progress updates, I have this whiteboard, and the book has been written for a long time, but it needs to be edited. And as I finish editing a chapter, they get crossed off. Now in book one, part one, in this, they're horses. If you're from the West, they're called salires. If you're from anywhere else, they're horses. And a horse is pregnant for close to a year. Camels, in book one, part one, I talk about clergy camels. That wasn't a one-off. Clergy camels continue to be relevant as the books proceed. And camels are pregnant for 14 months, longer than horses. Same with giraffes. There are no giraffes in my book, but giraffes are pregnant for 14 months or so. And the point of telling you this is not hooved mammal obstetrics or anything like that. The point is, I copyrighted this first book. I finished editing this first book and copyrighted it on May 5th of, you can see that, of 2024. Book one, part two, I sent off to the US Copyright Office on July 7th, 2025, which means the process of editing, again, even book one, part three is already written. But book one, part two, when I started editing it, when that came out, it was like a second trimester book. It wasn't ready for delivery. I needed to develop a little bit more. I needed to edit that work a little bit more before it was ready for publication. And that process was like a giraffe gestation duration. And it's like a giraffe-sized book too. So this one, book one, part one, is 353 pages. Book one, part two, it's just barely shy of 500 pages. And again, the way I would go through those 500 pages is using this whiteboard, where if Marie was home at the time and I completed my revision of a chapter, she would cross it off. That was our little ceremonial, here's the accomplishment, let's move on. And it's just this little moment of celebration. And then if she wasn't home, if Marie wasn't home, what I would do is I would cross it off, but I would film myself doing it. I would film my own hand crossing it off. And I'm going to share with you some of those videos, and I'll voice over the dates of completion. As you can see, you skip ahead. This is going to bore everybody. And maybe it's a minute long or something like that. And everyone's going to be bored to death. The only reason I'm including this is so Marie and I, in the future, we can look back nostalgically, remember the time we were going through, and whatever. That's what I'm going to share with you now. Skip ahead, feel free, until I'm talking again. This one's March 2nd, and then March 4th. And then I went up to Oregon for spring break, and so this is March 16th when I'd come back, back home. I'd finished a bunch, and so I just crossed them all off. I didn't write them all or edit them all on that day. And then that one's March 22 and March 25 and April 6th, April 8th, April 13th, and the 22nd, and the 22nd again, I got 2 done that day. And then the 27th and May 6th, and May 6th again, I got, again, 2 that day. May 8th, May 12th, May 15th. Sometimes there's music in the background. Of these, May 19th, it's not necessarily what I was writing to. May 21, May 22, and the 28th. And then into June, so this is June 2 here, and June 4, June 5, June 8, and the 10th, the 11th, June 14th, big sweeping. I was proud of finishing that row that day. June 16th, June 18th, the 19th, June 22nd. I'm often looking at the marker to make sure it's angled right. June 23rd, June 25th, 26th, and then into July, chapter 212, that was July 3rd. And then July 7th, I failed to cross it off. July 7th again. And July 7th again. That one's Marie, obviously, crossing it off. Okay, those were my crossings out. And you probably noticed that once I got to June, I really ramped up the pace. That's because I teach for a living. And so when I transitioned into summer mode, my course load sort of vanished, and that allowed me to free up mental energy, free up attention to assign on revision and completion of these chapters. Also, 213, 214, 215, the conclusion of this book, the big finale, you might have noticed it all in one day. I revised in one day. It took forever to write, but the revision of each happened in the same day. A lot of reasons for that. Least among them is it was like the kick at the end of the race. I mean, this is a 14-month marathon. And as I got closer and closer to the finish line, I started spending more and more hours, more and more serviceable attention, assigning it to this every day. Another small but important reason is the music I was using as I write. Sometimes I write with no music, sometimes I write with like some sort of symphonic suite, really never with lyrics, never with words, because that's just distracting. But some little, symphony in the background, something like that. Often that's video game music, symphonic suites of a very important kind. And my favorite songs of all time, my favorite musician, my favorite music of all time, I withheld. I didn't listen to it all, this book, until I got to the conclusion, and that's when I reintroduced it. I've talked about who this is, what music this is before, so I'm not going to say it again. You can find it on my channel. There is a hint behind me inside the phone booth if you can zoom in enough. But I reintroduced that music after sort of depriving myself of it for this entire book, just to help. It's one more thing to help calibrate my emotions to be perfect to write this conclusion. Anyway, that is my progress update. For book 1, part 2. The book is coming soon, and I will announce the release date so this is how soon the book is coming. Here's how soon I'm going to announce the release date and reveal the cover art and all of that. But let's move on to the series update that I want to talk about. And I will introduce a guest here in just a minute and share that with you. Now, some of you have probably noticed, some of you have commented publicly that there's no ebook. I know I'm commercially pressured to release it. I am denying myself a big audience. I'm certainly denying myself income, but ebook screen reading to me lacks humanity. That lacks, it's not personalized. It just doesn't feel humane or artistic to me. And so artistic integrity really has prevented me from releasing an ebook. I've been sitting on one ever since the paperback and hardback came out. I've had the ebook and I don't think I'm ever going to get to it. But an audiobook, that's a highly personalized, beautiful art form. And the narrator, as long as it's a human being, the human beings, and their lips and tongue and larynx and whatever, their anatomy is responsible, their emotions are going in. Oh, it's a beautiful art form. And so I am going to do that. And lately I've been talking with the person who will be my narrator, and that's what I'm going to share with you. But let me go back to like a 20-year-old Courtney, maybe 21, probably 20-year-old Courtney, when I first got the CDs for The Hobbit, the CDs for Lord of the Rings. And I would listen to those every single night. Multiple CDs I would go through every single night. And for years and years and years, I would do that. Today, I do have the Andy Serkis editions of both, but I still mostly listen to the Robert Inglis ones. To me, Robert Inglis is the voice that brings Tolkien's world to life, that imbues it with so much soul. That is the personalized, like timbre or something, sort of tonal quality of Tolkien. And pretty much everyone younger than me would say Andy Serkis is the one, I'm sure. But people my age and older might say Robert Inglis is that. But the point is, narration is a beautiful art form, and the person I'm going to have doing this is really meaningful to me in my life. We grew up together, and I'm going to share a conversation with you now where he and I talk a little bit about life. We talk a little bit about our upbringing, and then we talk about narration and the book. And the whole conversation was over 2 hours long, but I've just taken a little clip. I'll share more clips with you in the future, but he does some narration. I suggest some types of voices to do, because as the character travels, goes through all of these different towns, there are different dialects, and the narrator has to be able to pick up on those different dialects if it's locals speaking. And so I have him do some of those. So let me share that with you now. Okay, so let's take a step back for a second to say that. So you were just here, was it like 2 months ago or something?
He's already, huh?
Hey, Marie and I went and visited you. Was that like 2 years ago? I think it was like in November, so like a year and a half ago or something like that. But I actually have a picture that I want to show. This is as soon as Marie and I got back. I think it was the day we got back. I'm gonna share my screen. I took a picture of Stockton. All right, can you see this?
Yep.
Yeah, that is not like a prospering kingdom, where anyone would want to live. But this is just Marie and I. This is, I think, the day after we got back from your place. Where it's like, I just got to take a picture of this and show it.
We're diabetic.
Yeah, that's what we returned to, getting back to Stockton. But we had this like wonderful trip out to visit you, and then so much time just keeps passing between any sort of real life visit, but then a couple of months ago you were out here, and I did one of these videos. Marie was on it with me, and we did our like New Year's resolutions, but it was all about video gaming. And one of my resolutions, what do I want to do in 2025? What do I want to do? One of them was to play like a bunch of old school stuff with you. And one of the games I listed was Wayne Gretzky, and we obviously couldn't find that, but we did play through. So like I met that one of my resolutions has been met, where we played Diddy Kong, we played both WCW and WO games. We played a game that we'd never played before, neither of us ever had, the Knockout Kings. It was okay. We went through and beat it. I mean, we like built our character and went through and won the belt and whatever. And then we played through like Turtles on the arcade mode, which I'd never done before. I'd only done story mode in Shredder's Revenge, and so you and I went and beat that. And Contra, we went through and beat the original NES Contra.
That was,
and then that baseball game that you had on your Switch. I don't remember what that one was called, but some games there. But it was just so much fun to hit, especially those 64 games, like putting those in and just having that nostalgia gaming, just couch co-op. It just sort of takes you back into such a sentimental time. Those sort of late 90s 64, you and me sitting there, couch co-op, or just sitting on the floor, playing. I just wish I could find that box of missing games that had Gretzky in it.
Oh, I'm sure a box with Wayne Gretzky will show up sometime.
It might be at my parents' house. Maybe I just never proved it here.
Food, right?
Right.
Like eating your mom's like dish, and you're like, oh yeah, I got Danish pancakes, right? Just go home, mom will make some Danish pancakes. Like, I remember this, and it's the same. Right. It's comforting, and it's familiar to like the deepest sense of the being of like. But it's hard to find those moments. But it's good when you can. It's just I just got to spend like an entire weekend just doing what we wanted.
Yeah.
And some of that was,
gaming. So it was just old school gaming. And I think we planned on doing this live. We had this idea that we're going to do this. We just didn't get around to it. But on my phone, which is in the other room, I have this list. Maybe it's weird to make this. Maybe people do it and they just don't talk about it or something. But when I think of like one of my favorite days of all time, I jot it down. So I have this running list of like, what are all of my favorite days? And there's something that we share is like more of my favorite days have you in them. And now some of them are like the barge days, and it's hard to just pick one. Maybe it's that time of gassing it out in the parking lot. maybe it's the
That
jump.
that would be the one.
The jump
Remember when we
up the top of Glen Creek.
okay, the jump. Yeah, I mean the jump was great.
Are you
No,
talking about
my
the gassing it out in the parking lot? Yeah,
yes, the
that was
parking lot.
probably the one. But there's a bunch in the barge. I just wrote down barge days.
I just remember like pumping the gas pedal, and the security person coming over and firing it up and just having that huge Uncle Buck
Smog cloud coming.
and just gassing them out. And I remember you always were like, they're like, whoa. You weren't in the car at the time, right? You were like
No,
outside.
I was third party perspective. I mean, I was Lakitu Mario camera watching. It was perfect. It was
of her face always made me laugh because it was just like
because it was so, a black gas cloud.
Park here or something, right? Like you can't park here. I'm like, all right, pump, 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 pump.
That was it. Yeah, because they were forcing you to move. Yeah. You're asking for it. I'm going to, but there's like, I mean, that day I guess would be top for barge, but I just wrote down barge days for that one. Yeah. But then there's like the Mr. Warren beach trip.
Going coning with the barge.
Yeah, coning with the barge. I didn't have that one written down, but that would be lumped in with the barge as the coning. But there's like the Mr. Warren beach trip, or Mr. Warren with the Jello toss. When doesn't seem like. In retrospect, looking back, it seems both dangerous and unhygienic. Because how do you not choke on that? I mean, I was like more than 50 feet away. I don't know. I was far. I just chuck this hard piece of Jello, and you catch it like an outfielder straight. Like, what a weird thing to do for middle school class. You know, like I had the trophy for a long time. I ended up throwing it away, but.
Yeah, I don't know if I would imagine that either mine is still on the shelf at the house or tucked in a box somewhere. But yeah, you used like an old bowling trophy and then just poured like hot glue over.
It was like a golfing or bowling trophy. Yeah, hot glue over it for the Jello. But like, I think
the idea was, nobody's going to be going too far, right? And this is back. I don't know. Remember, like Jello. They came out with like Jello jigglers, and it was like this new recipe, right? It's a firmer Jello, and you could hold it and jiggle it. It's like. Wasn't anything new. It's just basically like putting twice as much gelatin into your like Jello packet, and then you suddenly have like this more rigid thing. And so that was the thing, right? It was using Jello jigglers Jello to do like a Jello toss.
Yeah, almost like a cornhole kind of toss. But you and I like overhanded that thing like an outfielder.
No one was expecting that anyone was going to be getting far enough back to be like.
Crow's hop.
They're throwing it home, and we played so much baseball together. Yeah. It's like,
you're a catcher. You could do this. Like, right in the.
What else is my mouth than like a little mitt?
I know. But there are just so many of those. I mean, obviously, I worked at our weddings, both of our weddings, and then in your backyard, the night in the tree fort. The like that night. And like the day I've already talked about this on the channel, but when Up came out and by the way, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but behind me is the hood ornament or the dashboard, the hula dancer from the barge. But the Up day when we skipped school and did that, or our Georgia trip, the REM pilgrimage to Georgia.
Yeah, that's gonna never be forgotten either.
Yeah,
driving around and seeing the guy from Groovations and being like,
right, Groovations. I know, and he's just like, hi.
He's like stapling something to like a phone pole or something. He's like, still have my. All right, this is my official.
Whoa! You still have that? $100 club. You still have it.
No, I hadn't quite filled it up enough.
Okay.
One of many.
That's cool.
Right, one of many. But yeah, I still have this left in like an old wallet I had. But yeah, no.
I forgot to give you when you were out here. I have, maybe it's like a fake license or something like that, but in one of my books, there was like a bookmark, or maybe it was like your, it could have been like a driver's permit or something like that. I forgot to give it to you. It's a bookmark, and one of my pages is like your old license or permit or something.
You keep it.
But it's like if I open it up, like, oh man, those days.
I've got your old courthouse name tag.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
Room at home. So.
Yeah, it's just they're sentimental. Trade. Yeah, a little bit. Or like the pictures that we used to on the subject of all that. So those days we would go out and we would just take pictures, like, oh, I mean, I can just flip through that. I mean, we've done it multiple times, but I can just flip through that album or like our
They're
bike
on the
crash
wall in
day.
my house. Yeah, they're on the wall in my
Yeah,
house. Like
yeah,
pictures of both of us sitting there on the curb, like at the
yeah.
same, like whatever.
Exactly, yeah. Or that when we like did
The double
that's what I
frame,
was talking about, the double, and we're like
yeah,
walking on both
we're like,
sides of,
or
on
when we
crescent
were
that little
running
island.
around and yeah, let's make
Yeah.
it look like we're running from the prison, and then like the
It's like the
just
women's prison.
we took were like clearly like someone's trying to look like they're running
I
because
know.
they didn't really think it through because it's like you're not in a position or I'm not in a position that's actually like a real running
Right.
position or like this leg's up when this arm's up kind of a thing like
One of what's
rather than
charming
like
about
this,
that,
like this or something
right?
you don't do that.
But the charm there is that this wasn't the age of digital cameras. And so we had no idea what the pictures looked like. You just
Exactly.
eventually develop them. And like this one turned out, this one didn't. Whoa, this one turned. And so you're always surprised and sort of gladdened when a picture turned out really good. Because there's no guarantee, because you just developed and a week later you get these pictures and you're looking through them, you're remembering things. And I feel like we've lost some of that charm because you just take 3,000 pictures and keep the one that looks good. And
Keep them all and then you just have this like trash pile that
you're a hoarder. Yeah, everyone.
you're going to filter but never do because like
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone today, maybe they're not hoarders in their home, but they're digital hoarders. I mean, look at people's, photo collections, and there's like 100,000 pictures they'll never see again. Like they'll never, like, okay, you're a hoarder.
and it's like yeah the whole like ease with access to that stuff. One, you get the people that immediately curate, right? So like you're taking a photo and then immediately your response is like, let me see.
Right.
So you're immediately jumping out of the moment
Yeah.
of what it was.
Right.
Maybe you should like, I don't know, appreciate the situation that you're in that caused you to think, I gotta take a picture right now. I look back at photo albums that my mom, I think, pretty much curated, right? So I've got like 3 or 4 books of different things. And it's like, okay, film was a limited resource. You only had so many pictures on a roll before you had to replace it. You only wanted to carry so many rolls on a particular outing. So whatever, right? So you look at it and the pictures that are there are of whatever those little moments were that seemed worthy of being photographed.
Right.
And they got caught. But you took the photo, maybe you took 1 or 2, and maybe like whatever, right? Like
You made it
I think
special.
what we happen to have now where the technology is so great, you don't have to be skilled anymore to be a photographer. It really pissed me off when digital photography came around and I, had to listen to like the CTO of the company touting how like, look at all my pictures I took and when I went to India and look at this. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. At the same time,
there's no art, there's no skill.
yeah, your skill in finding a compelling image, okay, that's still up to the shooter, but your ability to capture that image,
Yeah, and so that brings up a whole topic.
I don't know, right?
Yeah, I feel like we should save that topic because I think it's huge. We're getting into technology replacing humanity.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I think we could do another 2 hours on that one, but
nice little segue.
right. Yeah, so something I do want to do before, because I know you have to go, you don't have that much time.
Like I say, a nice segue out of that is right. It's like it's sort of like how people, I think that doing like public address announcing or narration is something that anyone can do, and
exactly. So I realized. So we have this. We've talked about. I went through this list of like my favorite childhood experiences, and there's more in there with my brother, with my family, but there's other things. But so many of them are with you, and so we have this. What's interesting though, I realized is
time together.
The farther you kind of move, maybe it's not measurable, the further you go through life, you learn more and more, you get to know people more and more, but then getting a PhD in a subject, I just realized I don't know the subject as well as I thought I did when I was younger. When I was younger and I was studying a subject, I had more confidence in it, and I learned more and more and more and more about it and realized this is such a complicated issue that I know the percentage that I think I know is much smaller. The percentage I do know has increased, but the percentage I think I know has gone down. I feel like humans are similar, where as we're going through our upbringing, we're playing Doom, we're playing Command and Conquer, we're on our King's Quest days, we're playing baseball. So I felt like you and I were 100%. You knew me 100%. I knew you 100%. And then we just learn more about each other. We learn more about life. And I feel like I know you more, you know me more, and yet we're complicated. And so what percentage of you do I know? It's not as much as we once thought, but I feel like I know you more because we've shared more experiences together. We've had conversations offline, that won't be shared. But one of the things, like I'd never played D&D before, and this was it your 40th birthday? I think that like I called and we talked about playing D&D because I remember I was out at my parents' house. I was in the garage. And I think we were talking about you had a D&D group, like I've never played. Now let me ask Marie. And then we started playing. And like, I want you to narrate my books because you're my best friend. And we have all of these favorite days of mine. You were there. That to me is so special and irreplaceable. But there's a skill, just like in photography, right?
It shouldn't be an artistic there can be an epitistic aspect, but it shouldn't be a driving factor.
Right. But we were playing D&D, and you were GMing or DMing or whatever it's called. And you were doing a narration of describing a scene, but you were also playing a couple of characters. There was like a kobold or something that you were playing. And so you were playing two different characters as the DM. Is it DM or GM?
DM, Dungeon Master, I think is the widely accepted.
As opposed to Game Master, is that what the G would be?
I think GM works as well for some games, but I think D&D you're widely considered a DM.
Okay, so you're DMing this thing, and you're doing
internet. Please leave your comment below.
But you're doing this like kobold and some like character, and you're going back and forth in these voices.
I remember that, that was a little cool.
Marie and I had to like mute ourselves. We were laughing so hard. Not laughing. We're laughing partly, but like when you see somebody hit just a home run that's like 900 feet.
You're entertained.
I don't know why. It somehow it's just human achievement is like, whoa, and you start laughing at this massive home run. And Marie and I just started, it was like hysterical. We were having like an anoxic injury. We couldn't breathe because the voices were so good. And it was just on the spot for like, let me do a kobold, let me do this character, and let me do my DM voice. And so you have this normal voice, two different characters, and you're doing this whole conversation between them, and it was it was straight professional, so good. And so that's, again, it's a combination of best friend and serious skill in doing voices. So I have my copy of the book here. Do you have a copy around you somewhere?
Yes. Let me go fetch that real quick. Oh, I had it. Where did I put it? I literally just had it. I couldn't find it, so why don't we infringe on some copyright laws, and I'll read from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you found it? Okay.
Good copy. I'm still disappointed that I couldn't find room in my backpack amongst all of the various peripherals and whatnot to brought it out and gotten it signed by the author. But did
I never? Anyways, empty page there.
Like Sharpie writing.
Yeah. Well, this will be in the future. We'll do this.
I can pull a Schuler and I can ship it out to you with postage.
We'll see each other. Marie and I will come visit again. It's been a couple of years now, and so Marie and I will come out to you soon. Anyway, so with the narration, now the protagonist, there's a whole map. I wonder if I could. Let me just share my.
I still got to get that freaking map framed. I need to either take it to Michael's and be like whatever, or just you know what? I should probably just honor it by making a frame myself. And doing it right. And I'll do it my own woodworking.
You should, your own, You can see the version of the map that I use that has like distances and it's a grand inspired. But anyway, so this is Estivro, and that's where the protagonist is from, right? There's Sevro, Rindor is over here, Pendle Hall is up here, there's Farhearth. You get into the south, stuff like this. But
Shanvarg or Shanvarg?
Sharwarg?
Charwarg?
Yeah.
Charwarg.
Charwarg.
We're going to have to work out.
We're going to work out this, but part of what I think...
Lufoa.
Yeah, what I want it to be your vision, because you give an actor a role and they make it their own.
How do you pronounce that?
Labrin.
Labrin.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's the town Rorik is from.
So it's really important for me when you have some of these things. I'll need so obviously when I do announcing, right? You get a lot of weird. Not weird. Nobody's weird.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
You get a lot of challenging names to pronounce. And so they give you these pronunciation guides.
I'll come up with it. Yeah.
Like you've seen those before where it's like
last name phonetically.
It's like bat, and it's like, so yeah, we'll have to develop our own little until it's like completely committed mentally. Like we'll have to develop like a bit of a cadence, I guess, where okay, we're going through this part of the book. All right, let's go through it together, or I'll go through it and then mark like things that I don't necessarily know how to pronounce, or you go through it, mark things that might not have a pronunciation that's obvious, and then we can work together on that so that we can then make sure that they're being pronounced properly.
Right. Yeah, because with
Labern, but it's Labern.
Labrin. Yeah.
Laborin?
Yeah, Laborin.
Okay, so it's Laborin.
Just like that. Kind of like Oregon. Laborin.
Okay.
Yeah. There are a lot of, like, the most famous fencer of all time is Mijak, but it's spelled Mizjak. So I'm sure in some people's head it's Mizjak.
You know what I'm doing? I'm going to make this a historically interesting document. I'm going to actually start penciling into the physical book all the notes.
Okay, nice. Mine might sort of beat up one.
My children, they're like, what did granddaddy do? Well, he was sort of a muddling technology guy, and then he started doing like public address announcing, and he read this book, and this is the book he read.
But my copy is just filled with underlinings of it's all the foreshadowing. On every single page there's foreshadowing, and so there's little, maybe there's a page that just has a couple of sentences on it that's meant, but
this guy dies later.
but this idea of your D&D voice, they are able to just summon these alternative voices. Hypothetically, let's say the main character, now he's from Estivro, right? Which is kind of, think of the pronunciation as like Pacific Northwest. It's essentially natural for you and me to do an Estivro dialect. It would just be natural. But as the character travels, it goes through other towns. And so I don't know if you have some specific passage you want to read or whatever, but probably not the newspaper, but the actual first-person narrative. Hypothetically, if the character were from like Rindor, this is the sailing town, and I think of like a Scrooge McDuck, kind of hardened Scottish a little bit. Just it's rainy and they endure it, and it's it's something like that. If you were to do a rainy sailor, Scrooge McDuckish, kind of Scottishy.
And sailor. Now you changed it completely. You go from like a Scottish guy who's like,
okay.
Matey.
But there's a totally different. If I go back to the map, so let's do a Rindor. But if I go back to the map,
he was angry that day, my friends.
Over here, these are the Gaia whalers. So these are people who constantly. These are the real sailors. Over here, these are the sort of land dwelling. He's sort of a Scrooge McDucky kind of.
What am I supposed to read?
Whatever, chapter 1, maybe something like just whatever. Not the whole thing, but just a passage.
Scottish. 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 The sun was still dreaming when I awoke this morning. That's more like vampire.
No, it's yeah. Keep going though. But just for the sake of give me, and we can refine the voices later. But just that there's this vision that comes up.
When I awoke this morning, that's definitely like ha ha ha. The sun was still dreaming when I awoke.
The count.
I sat at the
Yeah,
edge
a
of
one,
my
a two.
bed for at least half an hour. Half. One half. Two half. Three half. Ha ha ha. The sun was still dreaming when I awoke this morning. I sat at the edge of my bed for at least half an hour, listening to it snore out my open window. Its muted breath rattled the dry leaves and plied the night frogs like old creaky bellows. And I just stared into the empty air, its blackness fighting the brightness of a tremendously full moon. The moon was winning the fight, silver beams bleaching the shadows wherever they crept, but also parching the color from everything touched by the light, as though draining Gaia of her blood. Radiance may win the war, but it leaves behind a pale wreath. I guess the cost of battle, that silent struggle in a night sky is eternal as gravity.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, no, I like, and we we come up with we'll go through with a voice of what it sounds like. But now let's just do a totally different one. So at the south of the east and the north of the south, there's Charwarg and Baguzu, and that's more like a little bit twangy, a little bit westerny. Think like American West.
Not so much Larry the Cable Guy as like
right.
DiCaprio in that.
Okay, yeah. Something with a little bit more dignity, but it has like a southern twang. And
the sun was still dreaming when I woke this morning. I sat on the edge of my bed for at least half an hour listening to it snore out my open window. Its metered breath rattled the dry leaves and pied the night frogs like old creaky bellows. I just stared in the empty air, its blackness fighting the brightness of a tremendously full moon. The moon was winning the fight, its silver beams bleaching the shadows wherever they crept, but also parching the color from everything touched by the light, as though draining Gaia of her blood. Radiance may win the war, but it leaves behind a pale wreath. I guess that's the cost of battle, that silent struggle in the night sky, as eternal as gravity.
Yeah, something like that.
Hold on. My basement alarm is going off. Hooray! I'll be right back.
All right.
I've got a... And I'm back.
Okay, so are you able to do that same with a little more twang? With a little more, like just twang it up a little?
The sun was still dreaming when I awoke this morning. I sat at the edge of my bed for at least half an hour, listening to it snore out of my open window. His metered breath rattled the dry leaves and plied the night frogs like old creaky bellows. I just stared into the empty air, its blackness fighting the brightness of a tremendously full moon. The moon was winning the fight, its silver beams bleaching the shadows wherever they crept, but also parching the color from everything touched by the light, as though draining Gaia of her blood. Radiance may win the war, but it leaves behind a pale wreath. I guess that's the cost of battle, that silent struggle in the night sky as eternal as gravity.
Like clenching those vowels there at the end. Okay, so now going again.
How the mouth works.
So let's say if the protagonist was from, so there's like upper crust society, so I'd be like Thevro and some Thevroans, the Hylians that would move into Farhearth. There's like if you were narrating like maybe a Sherlock Holmes or something like that, where there's almost kind of like an English snobbery old. Does that give you a mental image of
Autumn. The sun was still dreaming when I awoke this morning. I sat at the edge of my bed for at least half an hour, listening to it snore out my open window. Its muted breath rattled the dry leaves and plied the night frogs like old creaky bellows. And I just stared into the empty air, its blackness fighting the brightness of a tremendously full moon. The moon was winning the fight, its silver beams bleaching the shadows wherever they crept, but also parching the color from everything touched by the light, as though draining Gaia of her blood. Radiance may win the war, but it leaves behind a pale wreath. I guess that's the cost of battle, that silent struggle in the night sky, as eternal as gravity. Those were my thoughts at the time, while I sat there. Had to get to those.
Okay, so within that same lineage of the Hillians, right, from Thevro, there are some very rich families who are where like money is power. This is the ruling class. I think like mobstery kinds of families who use money in sneaky ways to overpower law.
The sun was still dreaming when I woke this morning. I sat up at the edge of my bed, at least half an hour, listening to it snore out my open window. Its mated breath rattled the dry leaves and plied the night frogs like old creaky bells.
And I'm probably not as good at that as I could be.
Okay, let's do.
I titrated the nails in my mama's pestle. My mama.
Mama's pestle.
My mama's pestle. It was never mortar for a year. Its potency hadn't diminished. Every dawn comes with a new unique cocktail. And sip the subtlest hints nature's wonders. Provided I play close attention.
Play close attention, yeah.
Provided I pay close enough attention, which I almost always do. It's my first wholly alert activity in the day. One of my favorite activities of any day is calm, contemplative. World holds a sort of peace in place for me, for a moment. And even for a moment, peace of mind goes a long way in remedy this peace of body.
Okay, let's do one more. In Pendle Hall, there's this big tournament.
Mama's pestle.
You know? But so the big annual tournament, kind of worldwide, every year they hold this. There's fencing, there's boxing, there's wrestling. You know, it's combat sports, and wrestling is a little bit normal, kind of. Fencing is kind of normal, but the boxing is like old WWF. Every boxer has an announcer. Every boxer plays a character. It's like a larger than life character that they're playing. There's backstory, you know, before the matches, in particular the ending matches. There's like a speech about them. It's all just kind of like, you know, imaginary. Like they chop down trees with their bare hands and stuff. And so 90s WWF, you know, today's WWE or, you know, WCW, NWO, whatever. That's sort of like, if hypothetically the protagonist is a boxer in the Pendle Hall tournament.
I'm just freelance this one, but I don't know what you're talking about, brother. But I'm going to do this voice, and oh yeah, you're going to have a problem with it. I mean, you can kind of go from like, you know, it's hard because it's like you're so obvious. Like I'm so obviously copying like either a Macho Man or a Hulk or whatever. You know, oh yeah.
Okay, do you need any Macho Man?
To the top. You know what I like to say? When I go out there, I'm ready, and I'm gonna cool you here. And tell you every cup of coffee I have, I'm gonna destroy.
Yeah, like you're more Hogan-y style. Like, I don't know, brother. But and then it's also like kind of Rex Kwon Do style, right? It's like, you don't understand what you're talking about, man, brother. It's a little, you know, yeah, I think, you know, the Macho Man style is like, oh yeah, real deep.
Macho Man is deep and dialed back. Yeah.
And Hogan's a little more, oh yeah, like a little more,
Yeah.
hey, brother.
Give me a
You know what I want to tell you about Fedro, brother? That's the best country and all. You go down in that water, and we're all together, brother.
Yeah, you sort of blend it all together, and people are like, it sounds like that. Sounds like that. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. You just can't go with like, you know, Andre the Giant's like, okay, boss. What do you want to do? Those are harder ones because you have to open up, physically feel like I'm opening up the cavity of my body to like resonate the right way.
Okay.
Obviously, Andre Giant is a big guy, so if I was, it'd be like, okay, boss. Like, I really have to loosen everything up and just let it like
Yeah.
use age to its advantage and try and like let it fall open and want the peanut. I don't know.
Can you do just read part of chapter 1 with a macho?
Part of chapter 1. The sun was still dreaming when I woke this morning. I sat at the edge of my bed for at least half an hour, listening to it snore out of my window. Its metered breath rattled the dry leaves, plied the night frogs like old creaky bellows. Oh, yeah. And I just stared into the empty air, its blackness fighting the brightness of a tremendously full moon. It kind of doesn't like that. It's such not a narrator's voice. How do you apply like sentence by sentence, like aggressive, cocky attitude?
Right.
Something that's just basically describing things. It's really hard mental picture to be like Macho Man be like, I stood there by the window as it light bled. It's like, no, he's like, I'm in your face.
Right.
I don't think any of those guys have narrated anything other than be hilarious, you know. Don't tell Hulk Hogan. He'll be like, okay.
Yeah, that'll be his next project. So I know you have to leave like 4 minutes ago, I think.
Narrated by Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I'll probably bounce you in a second.
Okay, but yeah, let's start doing this like kind of depending on your schedule more regularly, because there's a ton of topics we could still talk about, whether it's like narration philosophy, whether it's sort of technology in the arts, humanity in the arts, things like that. I feel like we still need to get to.
Well, I'm pretty sure we have an unlimited amount of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, for whatever over 30-year relationship.
Join you next week on Courtney's podcast.
All right. Well, you go do whatever you're doing. Thanks for setting aside the time. It's always so good to talk to you. All right, that's it. For those who stayed clear to the end, clear to now, let me just offer my departing hopes, which is that I hope you also have friendships, have relationships that have just they're like old and they've endured time and the changing world and changing circumstances, and you've just grown together and stronger and are still able to do meaningful projects together to contribute to the world in meaningful ways as a pairing, as a team. And now I hear the leaf blowers outside, so that's my cue to leave. All right, I'll see you next time.